My project was the Northern Great Plains of the United States, particularly the significance of this area as a carbon sink, and how the economy, particular farming practices, are destroying the natural habitat that this area brings, and also causing a danger to a risk of making this area a carbon source instead of a carbon sink. So a carbon sink is an area where the biosphere absorbs more carbon dioxide than is released into the atmosphere. It's the natural exchange of carbon dioxide between the atmosphere and the biosphere holds more of that carbon dioxide than is released into the atmosphere. So that's only considering the natural exchange of carbon dioxide there. So carbon emissions from vehicles or factories, you can't play that into the scenario. You can't plop a factory in the middle of a carbon sink and expect to be okay from that, because a carbon sink is not going to absorb that extra carbon emissions. It's only the natural carbon emissions between the atmosphere and the biosphere. This area, one of the main hardships of the Northern Great Plains, particularly the area of North and South Dakota, is the farming practices that have gone on there traditionally are being impacted now by the economy. It's essentially, the families that own the traditional family-owned farms just can't afford to do it anymore. So they're being kind of forced out and forced to pursue, the higher-paying careers in more urban areas there. As a result, a lot of these farms are being taken over by industrial farming companies. They have bigger machinery that's able to convert more of the land there into farmable land and just basically produce more. One of the consequences of that is that it's destroying the natural habitat of a lot of waterfowl in the area. Typically, in the grasslands and the wetlands, it's a very good natural habitat for ducks, geese, birds of the lake. And with the traditional crops that were grown in the area, those would also give cover to these animals while they were there. But now that these areas are being destroyed by the industrial farming equipment, the birds are kind of being chased out, and on top of that, the new crops that are being grown there and being pushed to be grown there because they're more profitable are not the same types of crops that would give those birds benefits for when they are being there. A similar area throughout the world is the southern African grasslands. A particular benefit or significance to those particular grasslands is that there's good rainfall there, and the water doesn't evaporate faster than is able to get put back, and so the water that stays there is input into the rivers of the area. It provides good water throughout that region. Destruction of this land could cause a huge impact on the whole region there, as far as water is concerned, living, so on and so forth. However, the necessity of the population there to grow crops, to raise livestock, and to make money off of these things is kind of overriding their necessity to conserve the land. So one of the major potential impacts of not conserving this land, or the carbon sink, is that you could degrade the area enough to make it a carbon source. A carbon source is an area where, as opposed to a carbon sink, the biosphere absorbs and holds more carbon than is released into the atmosphere. Exactly the opposite. It releases more into the atmosphere than it actually holds. So hopefully we will begin to see more conservation of this land. Hopefully we'll begin to see some more forests being able to be brought back to the land, wetlands and grasslands being conserved a bit more to allow that natural habitat, and also to preserve the carbon sink in these areas. Thank you.